Well, very good morning and welcome to this edition of Morning Cafe, this being the 24th of June 2024, and it is a 175th day of the year. Na maanisha tuko karibu hapo halfway kabisa.
Ngapi za Christmas?
Yeah, we very soon will start that countdown to Christmas. But karibu sana, how hot is the coffee where you are? This is one of those hottest weeks of the year.
Oh, yes.
And I'm talking about hot not in terms of heat, but I think the politics of the day is enough to warm up the temperatures. And yes, we'll be looking at that with my panelists. Of course, being a Monday, the power panel will be here to stand by for that conversation.
I'm usually standing in Ringita, as you definitely say. It is one of those weeks that, you are definitely happy to even be alive. It is a marvelous Monday morning and a health Monday. We're discussing matters chronic pelvic pain. We'll be discussing this with Dr. Bruce Semo. He's an obstetrician and gynecologist, trying to really understand this so you can always be part of this conversation. And later on, tunaingia maneno ya mdomo yako and how oral hygiene iko. Hapana enda salimia watu alafu.
Very important, very important.
Watu wanasonga nyuma kidogo.
Asubuhi.
Asubuhi bana. We'll be telling you all that. Dr. PJ Muriuki, he's a dental surgeon. 9 to 10, stick around for that. But then getting into the headlines.
Oh yes.
The revolt continues.
That's a big headline on the Standard, and as expected, it is the biggest conversation from last week. This week, going forward with the protests expected tomorrow, Occupy Parliament, and later on Thursday. But a lot has been going on, a lot of reports of kidnappings happening overnight.
Oh, yes.
We'll be looking at that a lot more. That's the Standard.
On the Daily Nation, listen to youth, church tells state. I love how from Saturday it was a street bash into different clubs, and then it transcended into the church.
They still made it to church.
They still made it to church the following morning.
I tell you.
And it's too late to see what will be happening, because even yesterday along Kenyatta Avenue, a couple of other roads, there's still other road protesters along the road.
After they left church, some of them marched into town. Okay.
So
that's a Daily Nation.
Probably even today there might be the activities of the road.
Meanwhile, as that happens, Parliament wades into secret public debt boss hiring. This is a big headline on the front page of the Business Daily, and we'll be looking at some of these intrigues. Now that we're talking about mismanagement of our taxes and the debt situation, Business Daily gives us that story.
Wanasiasa wanyamazishwa kanisani.
Finally, it happened. Wanasiasa waliambiwa hapa buskuje. Even in the presence of the president.
I know.
Bishop Ole Sapit said that no politician apart from the president and his deputy would address the congregation. It was very interesting. So yes, that one at least, Occupy churches really worked yesterday.
It definitely did. On People Daily, Showdown Tuesday.
Anticipation of the protest tomorrow as Parliament considers the proposed amendments to the Finance Bill 2024. They'll go close by close, and that will be the big discussion going forward this week. Revealed the age crisis in civil service, wame decide kwenda upande ingine kabisa.
Though, if you ask me, it somewhat kind of ties to it, because if you talk about matters age of 50 years plus, and people in the civil service, and the young people who are on the streets right now, they're saying we're unemployed, we have what it takes to actually do whatever you're going to do.
I get where you're going with that. But yes, it's about the age and the generational change, but this has nothing to do.
Well,
it's about retirement.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
In regional matters, Aloof Congo frustrates its EAC peers. The Kinshasa's lackluster participation in bloc, failure to remit dues leaves many wondering if it wants out.
They've just been here for what? Less than a year.
Less than a year, I think.
Yeah, in the EAC na natuonyesha mapua tayari. Voice of the People, that's the front page of the East African, still images from Kenya and the protests happening in Kenya, making it to the regional headlines as well.
Hata Kilavuka ameenda maneno ya nini hapa kidogo, KQ, say recovery plan. He rules out share sale.
Tuvuke boda tuingie Tanzania. Gazeti la Mwananchi, masuala ya siasa yamepewa kipaumbele kule. Wanasema CCM, Chama cha Mapinduzi, yaanzisha chokochoko. Yataka Daktari Mwinyi aongoze kwa miaka 7 kwa vipindi viwili. Wapitisha hoja katika vikao. Wadau washtushwa, wapinga babu duni. Usisha na uchawa, whatever they're saying.
It reminds me,
hiyo maneno.
You know, the 7th of July is Swahili Day. Yeah, so anza kucombine.
No, but Swahili that we can actually understand and say, and where it's heading. This one, Choko Choko, we already lost. Then you start telling us, wapinga, babuduni, ushisha, uchawa, uoga, uchaguzi, watajwa. Anyway. Habari zingine pale simulizi chaji ya laptop ilivyowaua baba na watoto watatu. Some of the risks with this technology. And tiba ya mionzi kitanzi kwa wagonjwa wa saratani nchini. That's what, chemotherapy?
Tiba ya mionzi.
Ama mionzi ni vitu gani? I think it's
inaonekana because that's yes.
Well, gazeti la Mwananchi kule Tanzania.
Maneno ya KRA pia huko. Mzozo wa wafanyabiashara Dar kuang'oa vigogo TRA. Yani kama Kenya Revenue Authority lakini huko Tanzania. Still in Tanzania, why Tanzania is wooing global mining giants. They focus on infrastructure and development. They say the government is eyeing the development of at least 4 large-scale mines by 2030 and is currently in talks with 6 mining multinationals, according to the Minerals Ministry's permanent secretary. Still on matters
politics. CCM in Zanzibar proposes Mwinyi term extension. Mohamed Said, the Deputy Secretary General, has announced that the ruling party in Zanzibar has endorsed a proposal for the tenure of the Isles president. Now, this is the president of Zanzibar. And most Kenyans don't know that actually Zanzibar has its own president. Still as part of the CCM. He has probably a rank when it comes to the entire Tanzania, but he is the president of Zanzibar. Let's cross the border into Uganda now.
This is my favorite headline in all the headlines. Game of Thrones. Hey, the kind of things that are happening in Uganda are just something else.
And the Speaker of the National Assembly of Uganda is always on the front pages nowadays, and it's always linked to corruption.
Corruption.
Yes. Now here, she's been caught telling an MP that it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, so on Friday, since, was it last week, early last week, and even the previous week, when it started last week, there were 2 MPs who were arrested. So by Friday, there were other MPs and senior government officials who were also arrested. So the Speaker of the Parliament says, that is Anita Mong, saying, just telling, because there's a female MP who was arrested. And her name is, let me see from here, Sisi Namuju. So according to Among, the president, who is Museveni, has heard your cries. So she was telling the constituents of where Namuju is, where you'll say that when your child misbehaves, you beat and say you go back and do something good. And you're better off having a child, even if she goes and eats something, so long as she brings some home.
Really?
And so
that one coming from the Speaker of Parliament.
So the words that even Daily Monitor hasn't really even added here. So Among telling the constituents that, well, as much as whatever she had stolen, she used it for development in this, in your constituency, inakubalika hiyo.
Game of Thrones. Still in Uganda, the New Vision, Corp Cash, 5 more face arrest. There are a lot of arrests happening in Uganda, a lot of corruption involving parliament. Suspects include MPs and senior government officials. At least we are talking about fighting corruption in Uganda. These are the big headlines in the region. We'll be looking at especially the local headlines with my panelists later on. Let's now take a look at the traffic situation in Nairobi. So far, so good, but if we go back on Thika Road all the way back to Ruiru, just before the bypass, Eastern bypass, I think we had seen something around here. And yes, you can see just before you get to that area, we call it what?
Can help you zoom in.
Yes, this Eastern bypass that goes towards Kamakis, there's a bit of a snarl up there, just after ZTech University, heading towards the bypass. So if at all you're using Thika Road, this will give you a bit of a problem, but after that, it's smooth all the way up until, okay, a bit of a snarl up there, but nothing much to worry about. All the way green, bits and pieces there once you get to Kahawa, but after Githurai, it's all the way clean up to Pangani interchange, where of course, as we expect, as always, the bottleneck there, it's already building up and you can see it's moving back towards Mathare Hospital. All other roads are looking good this morning in Nairobi. Even Jogoo Road, just a bit of a snarl up there, but it's actually much better, if you could say that, this morning. Mombasa Road, nothing to report about. Langata Road 2, Ngong Road looking good, and Wayaki Way 2 into town. Nothing much to report. So the only problem we can see this morning is on parts of Thika Road, especially just before the Ruiru bypass. Yes.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the weather, and I'll be taking a look at about 3 regions. We had been told by the Met Department that we do expect some dry conditions for this week, for last week getting into this week. We start with Kilgoris and see how, if you're in that region, how it is going to be looking like. They say 14 degrees Celsius.
Why did you pick on Kilgoris? How did you arrive at that consideration? Anyway, yeah.
It just came to mind, you know, for people in the viewers around there, or if you're probably thinking about traveling to Kilgoris, how you might really want to see how the weather is going to be like. It's going to be fantastic today. Temperatures as high as 25 degrees Celsius getting into the midday, but then some itakuwa kabaridi kidogo tu, and to the morning 13 degrees Celsius. From Kilgoris, let me take you to Marsabit and see how things are going to be looking like. Right now it is 18 degrees Celsius, but they say it feels like 23 degrees Celsius. And
a bit warmer in Marsabit.
Yes, it's a bit warmer, and temperatures are definitely expected to rise into the day, and just getting as humid kidogo too. And finally in Nairobi, 12 degrees Celsius. It's a bit colder today. But then it promises to get as hot as 22 thereabout degrees Celsius, so nothing to really worry about for today. Hakutakuwa na mvua nyingi as much. Speaking of what to expect on today's diary, so President William Ruto is expected to meet 6 coastal governors, 6 coast governors, and he is expected to be asked for political support for the ban in the coast. So the 6 coastal counties will include in the various finance bills prohibitive costs on Mogoka and associated trade. We expect to see how this meeting is going to shape up and what is going to be said. Still on the same, Deputy Inspector General Noor Gabo will lead the final preparations of deployment of the Kenyan police to Haiti. And so Gabo has designated Direct Operations, that is AIG Geoffrey Otunge, to lead the squad which is expected to meet President William Ruto and will be leaving the country on 25th, which is tomorrow, aboard a private jet at GKIA. So to see if this meeting is going to either happen today or tomorrow very early in the morning. And into the finance bill. Anti-Finance Bill 2024 protesters are expected to today conduct a drive countrywide to recall members of parliament who voted yes during the second reading of the bill. And remember, last week there was a whole diary of what to expect since on Saturday into the weekend, as well as even this entire week. So things are planned.
Yes, the 7 days of rage.
Yes.
And they're not skipping even a day, as you say. Today, they're talking about recalling some of the members who voted yes in Parliament, and we'll be keeping a tab on all these happenings for you, our dear viewers.
All right. That is just a nutshell of what to expect in our news diary right now, though, today in history.
At least one person was killed on this day in a blast at a nightclub in Mombasa. According to police officials, the attack came a day after the U.S. Embassy in Kenya issued a terror warning for the coastal town.
All right, let's now delve into the dailies to see what exactly we're talking about this morning. All right, the revolt continues. That's the big headline on the Standard this morning. As MPs gather to debate the finance bill tomorrow, Kenyans have reiterated their stand that they object punitive tax measures. Now, yesterday they made their point in churches and other worship places. President William Ruto has promised to listen to the issues, but he too was heckled in Nyahururu as he attended a church service. Now, this is a main story because you can see even the kind of coverage it's been given on the Standard. Pages 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And you can just see photos of Gen Zs across board. Ruto forced to eat humble pie. Gen Z parents backing demos. Street protests expose Ruto's blunder on budget making. Ruto must go chants reverberate in nightclubs. They have all this coverage from the weekend. Youth must stand against injustices, according to some trade unionists. Well, not all trade unionists agree, but hey. Resign or respect your boss, Azimio leaders tell from Western tell the deputy president. Now that's a different, you realize he totally forgot about Gachagua.
Oh yeah. True.
And what he was doing.
Actually, I think the last time we mentioned him was him going to South Africa.
Yes.
And then after
something happened with the party.
Yes.
Yeah. When he came back, everything is quiet. People are concentrating on the finance bill. So that's the main headline on the front page of the Standard. Other highlights: T candidates splash millions. These are T elections. Campaigns for directorship positions have entered the home stretch, and candidates are crisscrossing the 54 KTDA factories across the country and splashing millions of shillings. Elsewhere, Kogalo crowned KPL champions. Congratulations, Gor Mahia, for winning the KPL. They were crowned champions of FKF Premier League for the 21st time. Following their 4-3 victory over Bidco United yesterday. The win sealed what was a formality for Gor, who won the league with 3 matches to spare 3 weeks ago. Gor finished the season with 73 points. On the top strip of the front page of the Standard, after Shakahola, religious groups reports gathers dust. Yes, there was a lot to be said about Shakahola and this shall never happen again. A lot of discussion about what should happen to churches. Should we regulate them or not? Yeah, the report is there. But hey, we moved on to other things. Matters health, clinical trials show hope for HIV vaccine. And on the international front, Trump woos evangelicals in vote hunt. If we flip the paper, and this is a Standard.
It's a beautiful.
Hey, I hadn't expected this. Have you seen the back page of the Standard today? Well, no love lost as Croatia face Italy in survival clash. And you know, it reminds me of the World Cup. There are beautiful images. Beautiful images from the world. Yes, and on a Monday morning, these are the kind of pictures you want to see on a newspaper.
How to start your Monday morning?
Yes, this is how you start your Monday morning. This is the reason why people watch football sometimes. Just go to stadiums. It's not about the game.
Yes.
Well, this is part of the game. Anyway, that's a Standard this morning. Matters sports. We can take a look at a different daily.
On Daily Nation, listen to youth, church tells state. It also has an extensive coverage on the same pages 4, 5, 6 and 7. And they say a close shave. President William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza luminaries yesterday nearly came face to face with hundreds of youth protesting punitive tax proposals in the Finance Bill 2024. The protesters had camped outside Ndururi Primary School in Nyahururu town, where President Ruto, his deputy Rigathi Gachagua, and Kenya Kwanza MPs had attended a church function. However, President Ruto, his deputy, and several MPs were dramatically whisked away by the security detail. And people saying how the number of the security detail was way, way more than even the congregants who came into the church.
Even the kind of screening that locals who usually attend church service there, they had to go through a lot of screening for security purposes. And I saw very many women, Wengi wa Mothers Union, they were not very happy having to open their handbags for the askaris to check what they were carrying. They're just carrying a Bible and probably handkerchief. Na sadaka yake kidogo.
Na lunch kidogo ya watoto.
Most of them don't even carry lunch. But anyway, interesting.
That is the big headline on the Daily Nation. Another conversation that might be forgotten with this whole finance bill protest, but then it has really been linked to Haiti as well. They say 3 men who will lead Kenya's police mission in Haiti. It is now official that Deputy Inspector General of Police Nur Gabo and heads of Operation Samuel Chebet and Geoffrey Otunge are the police chiefs who will lead the Kenyan troops in Haiti. 3 senior police officers were notified of that decision by the Inspector General of Police, that is Japhet Koome, on Friday. Mr. Otunge is a Senior Assistant Inspector General of Police, while Chebet is a Commissioner of Police. We'll definitely be updating you on these details. Today is the final preparations of this, and as they wait to jet out of the country tomorrow. So 1 million Kenya shillings. These appointments come with huge perks and benefits that include an allowance of between 1 million and 1.5 million monthly. Hey.
Okay.
You're into your front page of Daily Nation. Just a nutshell of it.
Let's not miss the photo. The photo on the front page of the Daily Nation we have many people there donating blood. Now, this is something that we've never seen before. They are donating blood in preparation for the protests against the finance bill tomorrow.
With all those years that you've covered demonstrations.
There's never been anything like this kind of preparation for a protest, that they're even donating blood ahead of the protest. Yeah.
Najua ulikover ile 92 ya YK 92.
Those were some of the most successful protests. Yes, we will educate this young man later on the history of protests in Kenya. Yes, but you can see very many young people there donating blood in preparation for the anti-finance bill demonstrations. This was yesterday at the Sikh Union in Nairobi. Later on, during this, one of the doctors there who we hosted here some time back, Japrado, Dr. Austin Omondi, was abducted by police for a few hours, then later released. And it was a very big discussion online.
Well, that is other headlines on the front page of this paper. School heads start annual conference, as well as around World Cup. Kenya's under-17 girls face baptism by fire. They were handed two-time champions North Korea, 2016 silver medalists England, and 2018 runners-up Mexico in Group C of the 2024 FIFA World Under-17 Women's World Cup that will be played in the Dominican Republic from October 16th to November the 3rd. That's quite the group there, but we have faith in them, so wanajua wataturepresent vizuri. That in a nutshell is a Daily Nation. On to
Taifa Leo. Wanasema wanasiasa wanyamazishwa kanisani. Yes, makanisa ya Katoliki na ACK yaongoza katika kuharamisha viongozi kuchapa siasa kwenye madhabahu. Askofu Jackson Sapit wa ACK alimnyima naibu wa rais fursa ya kualika hata mbunge mmoja kati ya 30 kuhutubu hafla ya kutawazwa askofu mpya wa Nyahururu. Na hiyo tunasema inafaa hivyo. Hiyo tunawapigia makofi. Wanasiasa wamekuwa wakileta mchezo sana kanisani. Yeah. Kuna picha pale ya vijana pale Nyahururu waliotokea na kusema wangetaka kuongea na rais, lakini hawakupata hiyo fursa. Kwingineko, Raila alenga ECOWAS kusaka kura za AUC. Remember last week one young person told Raila Odinga, this one is not for you. Kindly allow us to continue this. He has done so. He has actually done so. Yes. Him is focused on other things. He's moved on.
Yes. I also saw on X someone had told Mother Karua and asked her, also come on board. And she was like, no.
This
you
one,
guys, whatever you're doing, I couldn't even have reached.
We don't want to interfere.
We don't want to interfere. With my age, nyinyi mmefanya even more than I could ever do. Endeleeni.
All right. Habari zingine kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Likizo fupi anza, walimu wakuu wakienda Mombasa. Wakuu hao watashiriki kongamano la kitaifa la 47 juma hili. Apparently, schools are on recess for midterm across the country. I think they reopen this week. Or some are going for midterm sometime this week. Kwenye spoti, hili gozi la Italia dhidi ya Croatia ni moto balaa. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa 20 wa Taifa Leo. Hilo ndilo gazeti la Taifa Leo hii leo.
Tuangalie another paper. Can take a look at the Star, which, we do have People Daily. Showdown Tuesday. Over 40 legislators propose amendments to finance bill tomorrow as young Kenyans vow to continue anti-Ruto protests that started last week. And other headlines on the very top. MPs were bribed with 2 million cash shillings to pass bill, claims lawmaker. And we always see this conversation even last year, there was a whole bit. So I'm curious despite even what they earn and all the kind of perks they have, how little or how much is 2 million for them, if actually the allegations are true. Into another conversation that is very saddening, I must say. Musalia's officials arrested. Press Secretary Swale and others seized to help police investigate extortion allegations.
This is a very sad state of affairs. It is not the kind of picture I would want to see on the front page. But let's leave it to the police to conduct their investigations.
Oh yes. Something else that unajua pia tumepigia makofi Gor Mahia lakini pia Shabana finally wamerudi huko. They say Shabana and Sofapaka survived.
They survived relegation. Wanataka tupige Shabana hawe waache maneno yako.
My folks huko the Gusiland on final days Gor Mahia lifts title on page 32. Wamekuja vizuri. Walisema,
you know, the people who argue that when you tell at even young children in schools that you're clapping even for the one who came last, what exactly are you telling them? You should reward the top performers. Yes. Encourage the others and tell them you can do better.
You can do better.
But you cannot give them accolades for that.
So to Ambia Shabana, you can do better.
Yeah, you can do better. It's good that you've survived relegation. You can do better.
So. And that in a nutshell is the front page of People Daily. I think finally to the Star.
On the Star, the Star takes a tangent. Everyone else is talking about the revolt, the protests, but then the Star goes about retirement debate, reveal the age crisis in civil service. More than a quarter of the workforce is made up of people aged over 50 years, meaning that in the next 10 years or so, most of these people will have retired. And with this natural attrition, of course, younger people are going to get into this space. But there's something that we need to discuss a lot more. It takes a lot of time before people actually retire. Some of these people got into the civil service in their early 20s. Yeah, so they've been there for more than 30 years or so. Images there of President Ruto and his deputy when they attended church service in Nyahururu on the front page of the Star. And yes, at least there's a photo there, just below that photo of the president, making reference to the big discussion of the day and of this week, and that's the protests. Other highlights on the front page of the Star. Kome picks new commander to lead Haiti mission. They will be leaving tomorrow. Fuel price increase looms as review of road levy starts. And you remember that review from 18 to actually not even 7 to 9 shillings. An extra 9 shillings, that means to 27 shillings a litre. 9 shillings extra for every litre of fuel. That one is coming up. Forgotten why Ruto, Raila, Natco bills have stalled. And yes, on the very top strip, A.G. Muturi's son goes missing in Nairobi amid abduction fears. All those stories given prominence on the front page of the Star this morning.
Finally, Business Daily.
On the Business Daily, Parliament wades into secret public debt boss hiring saga. We talk about the debt situation, Kenya's debt situation. So apparently, Treasury has given 60 days to replace Sirma in key office. PS Kipto says we have a candidate, but PSC guarded. The National Assembly has directed the Treasury to appoint a new Director General of the Public Debt Management Unit within 60 days, amid secrecy over the hiring process that started in January. And you wonder, if this is the biggest problem that Kenya is facing, why the secrecy? Just talking about the national debt. That is the biggest problem. All these taxes tulipe deni. Mbona unajaribu kuficha mambo hapa bana? Other highlights, banks to get up to 3 years to meet 10 billion shilling capital threshold. And yes, even the Business Daily has an image of the young Gen Zs who took their protest to different churches yesterday. This is a group that is in one of the churches, and I think that's the Holy Family Basilica, yes, in Nairobi. Finally, on the ticker, kerosene use dips 39% on record high prices. Also, why court dismissed Swiss firms bid in KEBS stickers tender. Other stories, Australia, Canada, UAE, top Kenya dollar inflows growth. And finally, economists see shilling weakening to 145 levels again. We're just celebrating it had gotten to 130.
Jana tunarudi.
So tutarudi 145. Well, those are the dailies this morning. As we wrap up this session, let's quickly look at the cartoons. And on page 11 of the cartoon, yes, MP's recall petition. That is exactly what the main focus of the 7 days of rage in as far as the protests are concerned.
And particularly today.
Yes, today. So the young people are focusing on attempting to recall their members of parliament, especially those who voted against their wishes. But when they open the door to the IEBC, all they're seeing are cobwebs. You know, this process, the IEBC is very integral in any such process. All these petitions have to be given to IEBC so that you can start the process.
Lakini hakuna IEBC?
Hakuna IEBC, utafanya nini? I'm telling you. Things are boiling nicely.
On page 12 of the Standard, they go with matters football. They say for Gor Mahia FC, clinching 21 trophies, shikilia mpira ya KPL pale. they go with a whole different conversation, but then to another conversation that is really happening this week on People Daily, page 10, they have it, the biblical David and Goliath kind of conversation. The Gen Z is David, and anashikilia the sling, anasema they will bring down Zacchaeus.
Hiyo inaitwa fandili. Fandili.
Fair.
Ushasikia Baba Jimmy akisema fandili.
Yes, and Goliath, I believe, is a gentleman wearing boots,
yes.
And hiyo rungu ni kama probably
this
police.
will bring down Zacchaeus, not even the Goliath.
Oh, yes.
Goliath plus Zacchaeus.
Hey. But anyway, I love how Stano's take on that, page 10. That is, in a nutshell, of what on the newspaper review. Definitely stick around for State of the Nation Power Panel will be coming up.
Yes, Samuel Pogisio, Philip Kisia, Kipruto Rapkirwa, and Honorable Dr. Mombinga will be in studio after this break to discuss the big discussion, of course, happening around the country, and that is the protests against the Finance Bill 2024. Be part of the conversation as well through our online channels on X at TV47 News, on Facebook, TV47 Kenya. My X handle is at Fred Indimuli.
All right. Later on, we divert kidogo. You know, they were saying if you divert into our conversations away from finance bill, you're told to read the room.
Focus.
Read the room, focus. But then we deviate kidogo to on matters health. Chronic pelvic pain is what is coming up. It is something that either you have experienced or you know someone who has, to stick around for that. And later on, into the tail end of the show, we discuss matters oral hygiene and get to actually know practically how do you maintain a very, very nice oral hygiene. That coming up. Stick around, talk to us. 22047 is our SMS number. 0793 267 279 is our WhatsApp number. Onyerengeta _ at Fred Indimuli. Siende mbali.
.30 p.m.
Kila kiongozi ana hadithi yake ya kipekee.
Wazazi wangu walikuwa bit strict kwa sababu mamangu mwenyewe, mimi kutoka kuzaliwa sijailala nje.
The white small one, huyo ana sniff gunpowder na risasi na bomb. Alafu huyo mwingine ni Ridgeback ana sniff simba.
Even the employees knows that. So when in the boardroom is the chairman, the CEO, and the rest of.
At what point are you a wife?
The minute you get to that inside that door, you become now the wife.
Na kila maamuzi wanayoyafanya hufichua mengi kuhusu utu wao na uongozi wao.
We see God blessing us, and we now realize the power of giving also has to be rewarded back.
Kupitia kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, tunakuletea mahojiano ya kusisimua na uchambuzi wa kina kuhusu viongozi wetu.
Pick your core business as the bigger stones. Put them in your diary first. Give priority the bigger things.
Usikose kila Alhamis saa 1:30 jioni.
In a world where challenges are as common as opportunities, there are those who dare to defy the odds. They are the entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship isn't just about starting a business, it's about embracing uncertainty, pushing boundaries and turning dreams into reality.
Hata ambao ni pesa ya kusave, wallahi.
ambao mwaka ni pesa nyingi sana.
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
The way we run the business is in a very unforgiving way, where every team member has to bring out their best.
So, to all the dreamers, innovators, and risk takers out there, remember, being an entrepreneur isn't just a job, it's a way of life. Join the journey. Become an entrepreneur. The Grind, Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Here on Beyond the Limit, we celebrate the extraordinary achievements of individuals who redefine possibilities. In a journey of resilience and determination, these individuals demonstrate that limitations are merely stepping stones to greatness.
I'm Nancy Njoroge, a mother of 3. I have 2 girls and a boy who is Clinton and who is autistic.
When my heart got healed, I decided to come out to be creating CP awareness, to let other people know that there is such a condition, and people that has it is not that they are witches.
Together, let's go beyond the limit every Saturday at 8 p.m.
Welcome to The Realtor, where we take you on an exciting journey from bare land to dream home. Step 1. Finding the perfect plot. We explore location, size, and potential. Next, construction begins. Witness the foundation being laid, walls rising, and rooms taking shape. Step 3. Electricity matters. We delve into wiring, switches, and smart home tech. Step 4. From paint choices to fixtures, it's all about aesthetics. Step 5. It's time to get the right furniture. Finally, the big day. Time to move in and create memories. Join us on the journey to making homes a reality on The Realtor, Tuesdays, 6:30.
Kila kiongozi ana hadithi yake ya kipekee.
Wazazi wangu walikuwa bit strict kwa sababu mamangu mwenyewe, mimi kutoka kuzaliwa sijailala nje.
The white small one, huyo ana sniff gunpowder na risasi na bomb. Alafu huyo mwingine ni Ridgeback ana sniff Simba.
Even the employees knows that. So when in the boardroom is the chairman, the CEO, and the rest of.
At what point are you a wife?
The minute you get to that inside that door, you become now the wife.
Na kila maamuzi wanayoyafanya hufichua mengi kuhusu utu wao na uongozi wao.
We see God blessing us, and we now realize the power of giving also has to be rewarded back.
Kupitia kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, tunakuletea mahojiano ya kusisimua na uchambuzi wa kina kuhusu viongozi wetu.
Pick your core business as the bigger stones. Put them in your diary first. Give priority the bigger things.
Usikose kila Alhamis saa 1:30 jioni.
And that was probably something that we've not witnessed in a very long time. Politicians not being given access to the podiums in churches to address the congregations. So yes, it is indeed the biggest discussion we have today in anticipation of the protest tomorrow. As we continue observing what's happening, they dubbed it 7 days of rage. Today I think we are on the 3rd or 4th day. A lot happening, and we'll be looking at that and a lot more as well. with us this morning to help us look at this headline and a lot others, because there's other piece of news not linked to the protest, but definitely something we need to discuss. A very privileged to have Dr. Mombingaru, former MP, East Africa Legislative Assembly. Karibu sana. Last week we had a break because of the holiday, so yes, it's been a while before you were back on this panel. Next to Dr. Ngaru, we have Kipruto Rapkirwa, former Cabinet Minister for Agriculture. It's good to have you back in studio. Karibu sana.
It's also my pleasure.
Yes. And last but not least, Philip Kisia, former Town Clerk, Nairobi. Karibu sana, Bwana Kisia.
Thank you for having me.
I know you are taking a sabbatical, but the situation has forced you to come back.
You've smoked me out.
You cannot afford to sit this one out. It is a very interesting time. And probably, let me just get a general assessment from you of what is your feeling about what's happening right now? Because not many people are willing or bold enough to put a finger on it and say this is what is happening right now. Dr. Ngaru, what is your general assessment of this?
It's an exciting time. I kept on saying here, there is hope for this country. I didn't know that it would be so fast and so soon. I can see light at the end of the tunnel.
All right.
I am proud of the youth, the Gen Z, they are our children, and they've said it. We are going to complete where our parents did not manage to touch the button.
Okay.
The good thing about this is that it is tribalist. It has no political party. It has no religion. It's the true Kenya that we've been yearning for.
Okay.
And it's exciting.
It's interesting to see a smile on your face when you talk about this.
No, it's exciting.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's the hope that I've been talking about.
Borakiro, what is your general take about what's happening?
Well, it's a response to the unmitigated arrogance of the regime of the day. Because when you listen to people, starting with David Ndii, who is supposed to be an economist, but he has chosen to be extremely arrogant in his statements, except yesterday, when I think he must have been advised that you have to climb down. And of course, also on the other side, the majority leader, Kimani Ichung'wah, and the MP of Kapseret, Oscar Sudi, the statements they make really almost makes us wonder whether they realize that they have temporary custody of apparatus of leadership. And when you get into public space, you must learn to be humble and also to appreciate those who may not be in those positions, and more so the young people of this country. But more important, Fred, is that many of the leaders today got into positions of leadership almost at the age of the young men and women in the street. I remember some of the people like the current governor of Siaya went to parliament at the age of 27. And even the president himself went to parliament at the age of 30. And of course, and many other people, including myself, we go to parliament at that particular age. So we should not dismiss these young people. They are knowledgeable, they're slightly ahead of us when it comes to technology, and therefore, they know exactly what is going on. And of course, they understand, and information nowadays is so available that whatever you do in some dark corners of government offices, it gets to the public domain. And that is what is creating the outrage. We are getting taxes, and we are not seeing those taxes being spent in the desired areas.
Okay. Bwana Kisia, your feeling about this, general feeling? I can see you also have a grin on your face. I don't know if you share in the optimism that Dr. Ngaru has.
Fred and my colleagues, good to see you, and thank you for having us back here. I'd actually taken a sabbatical leave, but I was smoked out by none other than my son Ethan, who is 14, and my other son, who is 18, Elijah. They're the ones who told me, Dad, you cannot afford to keep quiet at this point in time. We need you. And I was actually shocked and taken aback because these are my own children who are 18 and 14 telling me, Daddy, this is not the time for you to shut up. This is the time for you to come out and support us. Support us. Okay? So that was very profound and very exciting moment to be in this country. And I think before I even make a comment, allow me, first of all, to condole with the families of Rex and Evans. These are our children. We gave birth to them. And normally, I mean, in a human life curve, you'd have expected that we go before them. You know, that's our culture, that our children bury their parents. I buried my parents, and I'm praying that my children will bury me. It is most unfortunate, very unfortunate, that the blood of these young two children is in the hands of Kenya Kwanza government. May Rex and Evans rest in eternal peace, knowing very well that whatever they are fought for is not in vain. Let me tie and then of course those many hundreds of youth who have been injured and maimed in hospital, I wish them a quick recovery. Because these are our children, as the president said. Then I actually tied in with our constitution. If you look at the preamble, it talks about we the people. It doesn't talk about anything. It says we the people. It doesn't say I. So it's collective. Then it says, the preamble says, we adapt, enact, and give this constitution to ourselves and our future generations. So it reminded me that power actually belongs to the people. A very exciting moment to be in Kenya, because actually Zakayo has been forced down from the tree by our children, the Gen Zs and Generation Y. These are the people we thought that are hooked onto Twitter, they're hooked onto social media. This is the generation that has brought the man down. And I've said before, and it's on record, that if we continue ignoring this generation, thinking that they have nothing to do, these are children who are well informed, they are better informed than ourselves, and we saw it. You know, when more than 2 decades ago when I was in school studying, I studied a subject for my master's. It was called environmental turbulence. You know, environmental turbulence and response to change. And I was wondering, why am I being forced to learn this subject? I saw it coming into play now, that we should be able, if you're a good leader, you must be able to scan the environment very carefully and prepare a response in advance. But you see, this is a regime that failed to scan the environment, and therefore they have been caught up. Their response to the change that is happening on a scale of 5 is 1%, 1 out of 5. They are not going to catch up. It is a done deal for them. They are actually gone. In fact, they should prepare for the worst. This thing is not ending very well. It is not ending soon. And I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for them that it has come to pass in a manner that it is passing, that they are being brought down, because it is our generation. It's actually our generation that has been put to shame. And on that score, Fred, and I know you, I think, fall in the Gen Y.
I'm a millennial.
You're actually a millennial, yes, which is Y. On behalf of these ones, these are boomers, and the others who are before then, the silent generation.
No,
I said all of us.
Okay.
I want to apologize on their behalf, on behalf of the president, for actually messing up this country, for messing up and mismanaging the economy, for being so corrupt. But God bless you, the Generation Y and Z, for coming in the way you've done. May God bless you. We as your parents, We shall support you. We shall pray for you, because this country called Kenya belongs to children, belongs to the people of this country, and you have proved that it belongs to you.
Okay. And Bonakisia says some very interesting things, a kind of response that even this administration has had to what is happening has been found to be wanting. And yesterday everyone was waiting to see what the president would say. And all he could say is that they will talk to these young people. But do you really think there's an opportunity for that? Or did the Ruto administration miss the bus completely on this one?
Not just the administration, including other prayers in the country. The church has missed the ball. We as parents didn't expect it. I tried to negotiate with some of them to be careful. Mm-hmm. You see what happened to the children that
Rex and Evans.
Yeah. They talked about our condolences to the parents. And they looked at me and told me, Mom, every liberation movement has got casualties. And I said, wow, yes, we are prepared for it. And they tabulated for me from their grandparents, our fathers, then in us. And we thought that the children don't know the history of this country. They talk and they tell you who they lost, who we lost. Mm-hmm. But what I am also admiring about them is that they are saying they have also learned from what they called them during their time, the young Turks. Mm-hmm. In the previous regimes, the Orengos at 20-something, and they are able to remember that. So that means they have been running. The good thing, as far as I'm concerned, and this is where we missed it, this is where the president is missing it, that they don't want to hear anything about UDA and KK. They don't want to hear it. Mm-hmm. And they have this courage to say, we've taken enough of your lies. We are not ready for this. And they are moving forward. They are very clear in their mind that we don't want to go the way you have done it before. They thought we are going to look for the leaders mm-hmm. of the groups. And interesting, you wouldn't place a button on their leader. I think it's a strategy. They have hidden the readers within themselves. They will never give you a name. Mm-hmm. I hear in the open there that they're trying to look for people who are funding mm-hmm. The movement. And they are laughing at them because they are getting it rough. They know that the strategy of this regime and the previous regimes was to look for the leaders, call them to a table, put sweets in their mouth, and it fizzles out. Mm-hmm. So they are hiding each other. And it's very interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Bwana Kirwa, the political class, and I'm not just talking about Kenya Kwanza, even Azimio, yeah. Everyone has been put away. This generation does not want any association with these politicians. That does worry politicians because they don't know what happens in the future. When a whole generation decides that the entire political class is no longer useful to their cause.
Well, it also worries me to a large extent because the way I see it, it is a huge movement with no defined leadership. I think their strategy is working because you do not have the shepherd to hit so that you scatter the sheep. Mm-hmm. This also worries me. I do not know what is the end game, because, and also I don't know how the current regime wants to handle this kind of pricing.
Are you saying it is risky for our current state of affairs?
Yeah, because we are used to this 5-year cycle of democracy. And I can see that democracy is about to be disrupted. Because if they were to get into the street, 1 million people, and go to a state house, no amount of army is going to stem that kind of uprising. It's dangerous. We've seen it in some countries where young men and women go to state house and the president or the leader of that country is taken away to several places. Then they take over state house. They cook in the kitchen. They go to the master bedroom with a bed which is a size almost 10 times what we occupy in our houses. And they enter the swimming pool. You know, for me, that kind of situation is a worrying situation. And you know, once that trend is created, it is likely to bring instability for many years to come. You've seen some countries in West Africa, there is a coup after every 6 months. And therefore that creates a bit of instability until some semblance of order is brought back. My prayer is that the president now should talk less. Because the more he talks, the more he perforates his own scheme of things. Number two, I'm happy has reined in some of the mad dogs that have been almost insulting us every afternoon. People like Ishungwa, people like Cheruyot, people like David Indi, as I mentioned earlier, and many others who I think they occupy, even the head of public service, Felix Koskei. They behave as if they own this country. They don't realize the apparatus they are handling, they have been lent to them by the people of Kenya, courtesy of the win by the president. At times they behave as if they are above the president, or they are the ones who made the president what he is. So this is something that worries me, Fred. And very honestly, I'm more worried than ever before. I don't have the hopes and the happiness of the two colleagues of mine, because the future is worrying.
Okay.
And this regime may be swept out of power sooner than later. And to me, I would have wished these young men and women to register as voters, and they vote out this regime come 2027.
But it would appear this generation has lost confidence in the electoral process of this country, Bwana Kisia. And do you share in the worry that Bwana Kirwa has?
You know, I can understand where my senior brother is coming from and his worries. Because when you get to the 6th floor, and we are all in the 6th floor, we start getting worried about many things. And that's where the problem is. But before I tell you my worries, let me say this. And sometimes I think when good things happen, it's important for us to acknowledge. You know, this is change. And change is normally unstoppable. For the first time, I think there are some people who have realized that there's change coming. I saw, and let me first of all thank two, I can pick out two, I'm sure there are many. Omushombo has been in the forefront of saying, no, this government is taking us in the wrong direction. And I also saw another one called Koimburi. I think it's from Juja.
Yeah.
Excellent fellow. But then again, the governors, and they happen also to be fairly young. You know, we must acknowledge. Governor Sakaja, with whatever faults that he may have had, for the first time, I saw him participate in a very passive manner. Maybe because he's young. He gave out his ambulances, 47, 047. I saw them on TV, even TV 47, I saw them. You know, providing support, medical support. You know, he also issued a statement. I also heard the statement that was delivered by the chairman of UDA, Governor Mbarire. She spoke very well. She spoke about the unity of this country. She spoke about the direction that her own government is taking us. So I think we must learn to acknowledge, and I want to acknowledge, because we keep on saying that we don't acknowledge. We do acknowledge and appreciate. But I'm in the school of thought, like my brother Kirwa, that we are not just going to award you marks for nothing. You must earn the marks. So let's talk about the worry. I'm not worried at all. You know what? I'm not worried.
This uncertainty?
I am not worried. Because this is now true leadership. This is true and servant leadership. These people here and others, in fact, these ones are better. This bench is better. They are those who suffer from what my professor at Harvard, Marty Linsky, calls the big L syndrome. Bwana mkubwa. It is here on your forehead. That's why you don't listen. You don't listen to anybody. You only listen to yourself. And that's where the problem starts. Okay? But, so, these young men have come and defined what I've kept on saying, that there's nothing like a leader. So Kiro is looking for a leader. There's no leader there. There are so many people in that group who are providing leadership. So many of them. And that's the beauty of this thing. You can't pinpoint on one guy. There is one guy, or several of them, who are planning how this thing will be done. There are others who are communicating. There are others who are strategizing. There are others who are organizing. You know, there are others who are helping in executing. This is a team. And that's what leadership is all about. That you accept that you are not the only person who is there to provide the so-called leadership. That for you to succeed, you need a team. So this is a team, and that's why they are succeeding. Yeah? That every person is coming in and providing support where they are best. I listened to some young girl, our daughter. And she spoke and I was in shock. She said, you know what? And if you are sick, don't come to the demonstration. If you're sick. If you're unable to run, don't come. But you can give us support. If you have problems with maybe allergies, don't come. Skin allergy, don't come. Those of us who are there will do what needs to be done, but you can support us. How can you support us? By being a keyboard warrior, keyboard warrior. So you can see support. You see, this is now what leadership is all about. So those of us who are still expecting these young people to use the old strategies that we've been using, the Bwana Mkubwa, the big L syndrome.
Forming political parties.
The big L syndrome, that is gone, is finished.
Wow.
So let me say this. A product, those of you who've studied a bit of marketing, there is what they call PLC, the product life cycle. In a product, you start at zero and you you get to the peak. At the peak, if you don't rejig that product or service, if you don't do something about it, if you don't shake it, what is the next thing? Is decline. Mm-hmm. So the Kenya Kwanza government had an opportunity. They came up very well. They got some support. Even some of us are supporting. They got to the peak and became extremely arrogant. They forgot that they are there to serve the people. They are on their decline. And once you pick the decline, there's nothing that can save you. The only thing that can save you is for you to resign and hand over power to those who can deliver, or who can perform. That's the only thing that can save you.
It's getting interesting right here on Morning Cafe with the kind of sentiments being shared. Let's take a break. When we come back, we continue looking at this and a lot more.
In an evolution.
Kila kiongozi ana hadithi yake ya kipekee.
Wazazi wangu walikuwa bit strict kwa sababu mamangu mwenyewe, mimi kutoka kuzaliwa sijailala nje.
The white small one, huyo ana sniff gunpowder na risasi na bomb. Alafu huyo mwingine ni ridgeback ana sniff simba.
Even the employees knows that. So when in the boardroom is the chairman, the CEO, and the rest of.
At what point are you a wife?
The minute you get to that inside that door, you become now the wife.
Na kila maamuzi wanayoyafanya hufichua mengi kuhusu utu wao na uongozi wao.
We see God blessing us, and we now realize the power of giving also has to be rewarded back.
Kupitia kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, tunakuletea mahojiano ya kusisimua na uchambuzi wa kina kuhusu viongozi wetu.
Pick your core business as the bigger stones. Put them in your diary first.
On TV 47 with me, Fred Ndimuli. We continue looking at the headlines, and of course the biggest discussion this week is the anti-government protests. Many Gen Zs opposing the finance bill of 2024, and they're dubbing it the 7 days of rage, with a number of activities lined up this whole week. But we are still trying to assess the general feeling. And part of this concern, Dr. Ngaro, is the fact that there's a lot of uncertainty with this. And some people have drawn a parallel or drew comparisons between what is happening in Kenya and what we call the Arab Spring about a decade ago, and how that started, generally anti-government protests that led into some serious rebellion, and some countries have never recovered up to date. And probably that's the reason why many people are worried. Do you agree that, yes, there are some risks that could make quite a number of people uncomfortable?
I agree. There are risks involved, but it is still exciting. Personally, I have no fear. Probably it's because I am able to call them, and we sit over a cup of tea, and I understand where they are coming from and where they are going. Let me tell you one of the things that makes it exciting for me. It's the percentage of girls in jeans on the streets. Akina Professor Wangari Maathai, the late, Akina Michere Mugo, and the ladies who are there before us in the struggle must be smiling in their graves. Because the volume of girls who know what they want and how they want it are out there. Don't talk to them about their tribe. They don't know it. They know they have a Kenyan name, and that's all. And the other thing is that this thing has cut across the class structure. You won't know whether this girl is from Mathare, Kiririshwa, anywhere. They are all in jeans, looking good, and speaking their mind. That, for me, is very exciting. And that is the fear that my generation is having. Because they all knew how to treat you young boys, allow me to use that language, because they knew all you will do is look for a jerrycan of changa, feed the guys overnight, and use them. I saw these guys in what they are calling clubs and lodges, and they have got their anthem. And their anthems are not circumcision songs. They are singing liberation songs in the club.
Even in the national anthem.
And the national anthem. They know what they are doing. That's, for me, is exciting, and with that, I know I have no fear. The other thing I am appreciating about them is that technology that wasn't there during our time.
Yeah.
They are using it to the maximum. Nobody knows how they are mobilizing, because there is no meeting point where the vehicles are going to come and pick them to take them to the rallies. I watched one on a WhatsApp having held a meeting with about 54,000 people.
On X.
On X. You know how? This, for me, is nothing that I would fear. It's their time. Let them take over. Let them finish what we were not able to do. Number two, I am a political party person. I am ODM. I am not ashamed of it. But let me tell you, there is no political mobilization in this. And this is why politicians are fearing. Because how do you get to these guys? That confusion in the minds that you have to hold the tail to put them in clusters where you can manage them. It's not there. It's the fear that I am not in control. It is not about the fear of what the guys are doing. The fear is that I am not in control. Let me tell you, they will still get their leader. They will. And as they move to occupy State House and whatever else, they are very clear in their minds. They told the churches, we are coming. And they did go. They went there. I saw another one that said, after this, we are coming to the judiciary. You will tell us how murderers and those thieves and whoever else got cleared against chapter 6 of the Constitution. They know what they are looking for. And the last one for me, why I think it's exciting. They are the ones who will invite the leaders. Those leaders that we call ourselves, they know who they want. In our age group, in the leadership that they want. And let me tell you, those leaders that they will invite, they will give them the terms of leadership. You stay there, you don't do what they expect you to do for the country, they will show you the door.
Down ile.
So for me, it's exciting.
Okay, but Akiro, now let's talk about the kind of response the government has had to this, even away from what the president said, in containing the demonstrations and even trying to understand, because now overnight we've had more reports of abductions by police of some of those people who are seen as the leaders of this generation. And one wonders, the government has been criticized of missing the point altogether. This kind of response, do you think it will work? It may have worked a few years back on a different generation.
Well, I think they are fueling. In fact, that was my next point of fear, so that I become the purveyor of fear today. Because it worries me that somebody disappears, the police say they don't know where the person is, and we are yet to know whether these people, some thugs, took advantage, or is it the police who are taking people away. If this regime thinks that is the way to stem this situation, then they are getting it wrong. I would want to advise the regime of the day that these are people who are more in terms of numbers. You know, people under 30, they form about 80% of our population. People in the 60, you call it 60th floor, we are only 2.2% of the population. So we are a minority by all means. And this therefore means that the regime must be careful, because we know there were so many witnesses that were supposed to give evidence to the people who were taken to ICC. They disappeared. And we don't know where they are. And those who are still alive out of this country, and those who are not out of the country, just disappeared into thin air. So if this is the way they think it's going to be handled, they are getting it wrong. Or rather, they look for other ways of engaging this youth in a way that they also find the situation is reasonable. My worry is that we are dealing with a regime that, given a chance, they might even reverse some of the proposals they had already put in the finance bill. I would have expected the president to say something about the finance bill and how we are going to discuss around it, see how much the government can cede without loss of revenue, so that we are able to stem this situation. And from now henceforth, he also takes the lead in terms of punishing those who are pilfering the resources of the country. Because as I said earlier, Fred, these young people know what happens in every office. And since Kenya Kwanza took over, they have been flouting a lot of issues and making it obvious that before you get a job, you must give 5 million. And this is known. Who takes the 5 million? And where does he take the money? For you to appear to win a tender, there are people you must see in advance. And they are not making it a secret. They are making it like it's now our turn for the team that we have brought the government to power to be able to partake in some of the illegal issues. And these young men, they know it. Of course, the worst was about display of luggage, display of watches, display of belts, display of shoes. Because those are private things, and even display of cash. If really you want to assist the needy, you do not have to bring all that cash and display in public domain 10 million shillings. You know, even 1 million shillings to donate in a function means you must be having 100 million for you to donate that. And we know the salary of an MP, the salary of a governor, senator, a minister, or a CS for that particular matter. So it is worrying me. And the second worry that I have is lack of effective communication. If this regime was communicating effectively, you would not have reached where we are today. Because they made it look like it was not an issue at all, led by the MP for Molo, telling us that this car circulation, if you don't drive the car. If you don't want to manufacture in Kenya, go to Uganda, then you export the industrial goods back to Kenya. You know, that is display of utmost arrogance. And this is what is making everybody very unhappy.
Okay.
And this is what is building this kind of fury among the young people. And it's not the young people alone. We are also furious about it, but we cannot run as fast as the young people. That's why you didn't see me joining them. And of course, there was a young girl who told Baba, utuachie hii, we are equal to the task. And that encouraged me a lot. Because I realized there is hope in Kenya. But this hope must be midwifed in a way that we don't destroy the very fragile situation we have as a country.
Okay. Even the kind of outdated thinking of containing such protests using water cannon and tear gas, that in itself says a lot about the kind of response this government is going to employ. Do you think that that could be effective in countering masses that number in the millions?
You know, Fred, I think you've just picked it out of my mouth. You know, these are fellows who grew up during the Kanu regime, including myself. And therefore, you know, there is something we call continuous improvement. If you want to be relevant, like I'm sure most of us are, my sister and my senior brother here, we go to classes, we listen to the youth, we engage. We don't have this mentality that we know everything.
Yeah.
And that's why I think probably we still can contribute. But this idea of using Stone Age tactics and strategies cannot work. You know why? Number one, this is a generation you cannot sell fear to. They don't. In fact, when you try and sell fear to them, you even aggravate the matter. You make it worse. Okay? So that's the wrong strategy. Number two, this, like my brother Kid was saying, these guys are, the generation Y, where you belong, Fred, and my children, and the others, Z, are almost 80% of the population, over 40 million of them. And therefore, how can a minority defeat the majority? Three, these are people who are so determined to achieve their goal. Okay? They are clear on what they want to do. They know how it should be done. Okay? And that's why they're not even applying violence. This regime is using the Stone Age tactic. These youth are fighting you using technology. They're using their brain. And there's nothing as bad as when another human being, you're using Stone Age tactics. And these guys, being so soft, but very effective, they're using technology. So the tactics of the Kenya Kwanza government are bound to completely fail. I don't see them succeeding. In fact, when I told you the only way they succeed is by handing over to this generation as fast as they can, or getting them involved, you are laughing. I am telling you, this thing is going to pass. There are things we say here which are taken for granted. We have talked about this generation causing instability within our system. We've seen it happening. And I am telling you, there's more things to come. But let me say this. You know, when I saw my president, His Excellency President William Ruto, trying to use diversionary tactics. Again, this cannot work on the youth. It cannot work. Because you're dealing with guys who are so sharp and intelligent. And you're saying, okay, let's just pass this bill. Let's just pass this bill. This bill is there to help you, to create jobs. Don't you want jobs? Even the communication strategy is tonnage. Please, you are dealing with a very informed population. Okay? So I would have, instead of saying that, pass this bill and, we need money to run the government, you have, in fact, the president did a few things that are a mistake. He did not even show empathy. He did not even sympathize. Up to now, we've lost 2 young people. My president, my friend, not even acknowledged, has not even passed condolences to the families that have lost these 2 beautiful young people. How do you expect to engage them? He's talking about, I'm going to engage the youth. And they know you have not even bothered to empathize with them for losing one of their own. You are treating them like terrorists. The strategies we are applying are terroristic. Instead of using soft, you are going hard on them. And when you go hard, they apply technology. In fact, I was reading somewhere, they were saying now, this water cannons they have already devised a technology to demobilize those things. They're not going to work. And these are things that are possible with the youth. So I would have expected, instead of the president trying to use diversionary tactics like he has applied on our generation, please, these are people that you must sit down and engage with them and make sense from what you're saying. Because immediately they realize that you're not making sense, they will cut you off. Mm-hmm. They have already cut him off. Completely, they have cut him off. You've seen the demonstrations everywhere, which are peaceful, everywhere. And they're spontaneous. Again, in terms of strategy, this generation will meet somewhere in a room, like my sister Mumbia said, we meet and we talk for hours. Mm-hmm. These guys don't need those hours because they realize that time is a resource. So they apply other means, other strategies of dealing with the regime that has gone rogue. So how can you, they normally say that if you cannot do what? Beat them? You join them. Okay. So this is the time for His Excellency the President to join this youth and accept that they are way ahead of us, that they have taken charge, and they are not taking reverse gear. As Mumbia said, now they ask even more difficult questions. When you talk about, we need this money, and they can see you spending recklessly. They can see you spending money on spouses who, according to them, these spouses are not anywhere in the Constitution. They have read the Constitution. When they see our president taking a jet and flying, making 100 trips in 2 years, they wonder, are we a poor nation? When they see these people, some of them who were so broke, who are being auctioned, when they see them living in an opulence way, dressing and showing us and vomiting and donating money. My son, who is 14, Fred, when he sees on TV, because he watches TV and most of the time he goes to internet, and he comes and asks me, I saw so-and-so donating 3 million. What is the salary of an MP? Mm-hmm. What business does he do? This is a 14-year-old. I cannot afford to tell him, don't ask me questions. Okay. I must answer those questions. So we are getting into a very dangerous space. And, God forbid, but we may not survive by December. We may not be here, God forbid.
But is there still an opportunity for President Ruto to change this wave of change? Because, yes, the debate up until now has been about the finance bill, and they say reject the finance bill. Last week, MPs defied that and still voted it at the second reading. Tomorrow, now, the discussion moves to the committee of the whole House for them to debate particular proposals or amendments to this. The conversation will move on, if at all they pass it, even through the third reading. And on Thursday, we do expect that the president will get an opportunity to either assent to this bill or not. It is a week that is pivotal to this. Do you think the president still has the opportunity to change this discussion?
From where I sit, I think the president is between a rock and a hard place. Because I don't think he has any constitutional powers to recall the bill, because it's gone through the first reading. So he will have to wait until it goes through and then probably send it back by refusing to accent. This is one thing.
Do you think if he does that, that could change something?
No, there's something I am admiring about these our children. They met as a parliamentary group in State House. Honorable Koibori has let the cat out of the bag. They were promised 2 million each if they vote yes. He talked about it in church yesterday. But what is interesting is that the clauses that were to effect the changes that the parliamentary group proposed, they came back in their high technology to get into the bill and try to see what has been deleted. One of them, a very intelligent person, would take us to the clause and take us to the original bill and show that it was not there. Mm-hmm. So they don't have time for this nonsense, as we would believe, and just vote yes, yes, without doing the due diligence that they are doing. And this generational thing between us and them is like the day and night. And it is reflecting even in the regions where we come from. In the old Central Province was a safe ground because there was no protests and the people there are compliant. I wish the members of parliament from Central Kenya good luck. And if you cared to check on Saturday, my community tried to put together the youth of the region under being guided by the elders towards the direction that the region will take. Mm-hmm. And this is why I'm calling it exciting times. I will predict from this seat that what is happening in Central has not happened before. In my own town, to be a city, the turnout was amazing, and there was no damage. They moved the town and protested and protested. It happened in Nanyuki, it happened in Nyahururu, it happened in Nyeri. The governor of Nyeri tried to come out and negotiate with them. And they're telling him, Goja, we are not through with the regime. So this regional thing, and they're speaking the same language, is a worrying thing to the politicians of the old. Mm-hmm. And I can predict that when those young people in the mountain region seem like they are being overwhelmed by our generation with our thinking and fear, the rest of the generations from the youth from other countries are going to come and help them. Mm-hmm. So this is not a regional thing. And the politicians, the parents, and the leadership, including the churches, must understand that they have picked the gaps. They know why we failed as their parents, and they have a lot of respect for that. And they're not going to allow anybody, including the head of state, to come and reorganize the gaps again for his personal good. The tragedy is that by the time they are able, the leaders and some of us are able to pick up that this change, there's nothing you can do about it, and hold it back and let them do not what they want, but come in like it's negotiating for the stability of the country. Unfortunately, we still have leaders that are dismissing them. Big time, with a lot of arrogance. This person who said, oh, these guys, they're spoiled kind of brats, coming to those demonstrations in Ubers and doing KFC and bottled water, and they have no experience about politics and governance. And you wonder, does this person live in Kenya? These guys are way, way ahead of us.
Okay.
And they're able to interpret the budget. They're able to criticize the misuse of public resources. We have been here with my colleagues talking about offices of the First Lady, the First Daughter, the Second Lady, and they're not mincing words. They're saying that those offices, including the cabinet, prime cabinet secretary.
Also for prime cabinet secretary.
The prime cabinet secretary's position is also unconstitutional. Okay. And they are able to tell it as it is. Okay. So we have to have a different strategy. First, feel their pain. They are feeling their pain, and they are feeling the pain of their parents and grandparents. And this is why we can't stop them.
But my concern is because the top trend is reject Finance Bill 2024.
Yes.
But the feeling is that where it is right now, it is beyond the Finance Bill of 2024. Are we saying that despite what happens this week in as far as a parliamentary process and the president's signing into law or otherwise, that this wind of change cannot be stopped?
Well, Fred, it is finance bill is just the straw that broke the camel's back. It is a rallying point for all of them, but it is cumulative events that have taken place. Remember, there are many things that members of the public have taken to court, and they have been ignored by the regime of the day. There are many other cries, including the issue of Haiti, that we've been saying it is not appropriate. Why don't you bring those Haitians? We train them in Kenya, the way we are training Somali-owned security forces in Manyani and in some of the areas within the country. Then they go back and they deal with their own situation, so that the AMISOM forces backstop, but the actual people, the actual boots on the ground, belong to the people of Somalia. You could have done the same with Haiti. Why are we exposing people to a terrain that they do not understand? Why are we allowing many court orders to be violated by the regime of the day? Why are we doing the things with impunity? So all those, the young people have been following, and they know exactly that this regime does not have respect for the law, does not have respect for the public, does not have respect for any other institution. So this finance bill, in my opinion, can still be midwifed. I'm sure the regime knows what are the clauses these young people are not interested in. And even at the stage where it is, amendments can be brought on top of amendments. And make sure
that would be enough to change the conversation.
Well, that will be listening to them and trying to mitigate, so that we tell them the finance bill, this is what we've done. And we are willing to listen to you. Let us now have a conversation. But you cannot ask for a conversation when you seem not to respect even the basics they have just told you. Okay. Remember what Dr. Mumbi said, that some of those issues may not even be canvassed effectively up to the end. They did that to us last year. And remember, the president himself made a lot of statements, and I'm sure media houses should be able to play back, that the levy, the house levy, is not a tax. He repeated, but eventually it has become a tax. Okay. They take it from you, and you have no guarantee that you'll get a house. The difference is the same. Whether you have a house or you have no house, they will still take that amount from your dues. And this is really like taxing somebody without any residual benefit to the person.
Okay. Bonakisia, I know you'd want to talk about Haiti, and it's okay, but many now believe that probably if the president refused to assent to this bill, because Parliament looks likely to pass it, probably with amendments, that probably if the president refused to assent to it and probably sent it back to the House, that in itself would be a positive step, and probably the Gen Zs can see that the president is listening to them. Do you agree with that? And do you think that that would be enough to change or to adjust?
Well, Fred, I'm very passionate about Haiti, because I've even been there, but, But anyway, you see, a budget is not meant for stones. A budget is meant for people. It's meant for a community. Okay? It is meant to address the needs of the people in a community, in a society. So a budget is not formulated in a vacuum. Okay? So why would they be so shy to say that we made a mistake? Because there was something called public participation. And the people who presented memorandums, running into hundreds of memorandums, from the business community, from the youth, from the church, from what have you. These are the stakeholders. These are the people you're addressing. These are the people you're formulating the budget for. And they have come back to you with feedback. And they're telling you that we do not appreciate the budget in its present form. Can you please make the following changes on this budget? Because it is our budget. Okay? So as my brother Kirwa said, this is a regime that ignored the contributions that were made by the stakeholders. So what even gives you an iota of a dream that this regime is about to change anything? Okay? And that is, and now to answer your question, I actually agree that there's one thing that can be done. Although it's a bit too late. I don't know how they can midwife. Because they had an opportunity to listen to Kenyans when they're presenting. They should have made those changes because it is not their budget. But you can understand why they're hell-bent on making sure that this budget goes through. It is not a people's budget. It is a budget for corruption. It is a budget to make sure that projects are rolled out that will benefit certain people. Okay, when you hear of housing, I've said this before, it's not benefiting Kenyans. It's benefiting a few people. When you hear of, I don't know which project, these are not projects that are directly going to benefit people. These are projects that are being rolled out to prepare a war chest, financial war chest, for some people come 2027. But unfortunately for them, I don't see that happening. So budgets are made for people, they're made for the community, and if they say this is not a good one, please stop it. Now, your question was, is it too late? Mm-hmm. Yes or no? Of course, they can make drastic changes on the budget. They still have time, even in Parliament. Yeah. Okay? But even if, because they have taken the 2 million, and it's not me who's saying, it is not Kiro who's saying, it is not Dr. Mumbi saying, it is one of their own who has said that they have received 2 million shillings to vote for this one. It's not us. Okay? So one of their own has admitted that we received something to vote for this thing. So they are not actually voting using their conscience. They are not voting for the people. They are not voting for the people's benefit, but they are voting for their stomachs. So having voted for their stomachs and they have eaten that money, 2 million shillings, that they have already squandered, okay? Whatever they have used the money for. The president has the final call. He has the final. In fact, if I were the president, and if I was one of the advisors, but he chooses to have advisors who only grow above the belt. Okay? He chooses, in fact, they grow above the belt and below the neck. That's only where there's growth. There's no growth in the head. If I was an advisor to the president, I would have told him this. I'd have told Mr. President, keep quiet. Because you have no role here. Just keep quiet. And listen to the people's cry. People are making noise. People are saying no. People are saying tawe. When it comes, just make one sentence and say, I have listened to my people. And my people have said, no, this thing is bad. Return it with your comments. Yeah. It's allowed. Yeah. Return it to Bunge. You would have been a hero. In fact, this budget would have given him a second term.
But he still has the opportunity this week.
No, you see, I mean, you know, we know that he doesn't come with clean hands. We know this. Under the glove, we know that there is, you know, there are nails under the gloves. So we must handle him very cautiously. We cannot trust this man. Maybe he can be trusted if he's more than 6 below.
If he did that on Thursday, because that's when he's expected to sign it.
He will have just redeemed himself. Redeem. You know, when you redeem yourself...
Would that be enough to change?
Just to survive.
The field of change?
No, just to survive for the time being. But you see now, people have already the youth have made up their mind. They already have decided that this is not a man we can trust, because we have seen the punishment that he has muted on our parents. We have seen the punishment as he's muting on us. So if he's already worked on our parents, if he's now coming to destroy us, why should we give him a second chance? Mm-hmm. He had a chance to listen to the parents. He didn't listen to the parents. Okay. So the only thing he's doing by returning it is redeeming himself, and is a survival tactic. You know, just to cool down the things so that he was able to cross, and maybe, and mark my word, and maybe hold on until 27.
Okay. There's a different initiative now targeting members of the National Assembly who voted yes, that people have started an initiative to recall MPs. And now we've talked about how impossible or how difficult it is to recall MPs. This could be the perfect opportunity with the Gen Zs, with the kind of numbers we are seeing, that actually it could be the best time to actually revive or try and see if that law can actually be possible.
Fred, I look at this finance bill as something that is triggering more than the regime can handle. I predict that if he sets back the bill because of the outcry, he's going to find himself in a very squeezed corner, because they are going to bring issues of Finance Bill 2023. You promised this, we talked about it, you still continued. I'm telling you, it's not going to sort out. That relief will be a relief for hours, but after that, the pressure will continue.
Okay.
The other thing that I see that this finance bill has helped us, my generation and probably the whole country, understand is that never again will a Chebukati from anywhere, I mean a Chebukati, do his thing and walk out of it with clean hands, that he has done what he was supposed to do. It's not going to happen. And for me, the signatures of recurring members is a statement that we know it's not going to work. They know it's not going to work in this environment. But in the future, they have given a statement it's no longer business as usual. We still know we have the weapons. We have not been able to use them. They are correcting the signatures. They know we don't have a current IBC, so there's nobody to verify and do all those procedures that are required. But they are sending a message. And therefore, they will also ask that the new an act of parliament about a referendum, about how it would be easier to recall an MP, because the crosses that are currently there are difficult, and they know it. So they are out to educate us. They are telling people, we know where the problem is. And apart from just the finance bill and the presidency and the current members of parliament, they are sending a message to any aspiring person who wants to occupy an elected position. If we miss to read those gaps that they are bringing forward, we will have lost as a country. We will have lost, but they are not prepared. I can read it from where I sit. They are not prepared to sit and get compromised, like our generation said, oh, we fought enough, now I'm 65, and I think I've done my part. They are saying the mess, the debts that the country took during those years, our parents have not been able to sort them out, and the current external debts that are being picked by the current regime, it's them who will sort it out. And they are saying no. So it's a big thing. And most of us are being kind of locked to think about the finance bill. Let's get outside the box. And from that, we will be able to hear their voices, to see where they are taking us. And when you see that, your fear just melts, because they are yearning for a better country. Yeah.
Now, one of the chants we've been hearing a lot over the past week or so has been Ruto must go. And that's an indication of change, or them calling for change. So are you convinced that are you persuaded that this discussion right now, heading towards 2027, it looks likely that is a change of administration? That with a kind of push, this could signify a serious change in our leadership?
Yeah, Fred, I do agree with you. What gives gravitas to this rallying call that Ruto must go is the fact that the demonstration took place, as stated earlier by my colleague, almost throughout the country. And you saw the biggest of them was in Eldoret. And this is the backyard of the president himself. This is a constituency he has represented for quite some time. And this is his home. So for that to happen, and I was very careful to listen, and you know the English you speak, at times somebody will know which part of the country you come from. So I realized that there were Kalenjins and other communities that reside in Eldoret, so that they don't start blaming it that, oh, those who must have been Luos or Kikuyus. There were a number of Kalenjins, and they were able to demonstrate their displeasure with the current regime. The second issue that I think this wave might be sustained for long is the fact that there is no political leader involved directly, and therefore it is people's movement. It is not going to be identifiable with an individual, and when you deal with the individual, possibly you have dealt with 3/4 of the problem. And as they say, they are going to go almost to every office or home of an MP that voted yes to the finance bill. And you see, it will not take many people, just about 2 million people will be able to mount about 10,000 people outside the home of an MP. And 10,000 people is scary. I remember the other day when I was minister, I would get 1,000 people, 2,000 coming to my home when they know I'm there. And you have to deal with it almost up to midnight. And the final thing is that you have to part with cash or some kind of a high level of persuasion for them to go away. So 10,000 people is a number that no MP would imagine around his home. You remember the late Dr. Muriuki. His home was visited when he was opposing President Kibaki at the constituency level in Othaya. And the people went there must have eaten a bit of nyama choma and all kind of wares that they decided to do a lot of ceremonies outside his homestead. The guy woke up the following day and he drove to Nairobi. And that was a demonstration of some kind of outrage that people can have. And if I was part of this Generation Z, I would almost demonstrate that you can go one evening and you do some of those ceremonies and you allow the fellow to do a lot of cleaning for the rest of the week so that he does not come back to Parliament to support some of the contentious issues. But I still believe the president has a window. He has a window. If he was to write back with a memo that I feel 1, 2, 3 should be done, he will have saved his face, but then now quickly move to address some of the other issues. Why I was saying today I'm worried is because I know the moment we go the route of people's revolution to get back to the rails of democracy will take us a bit of time.
Okay.
But it seems this regime is unwilling to listen, and it might go that route, and sooner than later they will have left this town.
Wanakisi, as you make your final words, the fact that the first batch of policemen is leaving tomorrow for Haiti could also be taken to mean something, that this administration does not listen to whatever Kenyans are saying. That in itself says a lot about this administration. It could aggravate the matter further. As you make your final comment.
Well, Fred, as usual, we don't expect my friend's administration to listen. One, they don't listen to the people who put them in power, the people of Kenya. They disobey court orders, but they also they expect that people respect them and obey the same court orders, and also respect them. So, I wish them well, those who have decided to go to Haiti, but we are in contact, my group, Dr. Aukot and Kabando, we're in touch with our friends in Haiti, and I can tell you, they have a resolve to return those people to the sender. So be careful. Let me say this in my closing, that there has been talk that if this budget, if this bill is not passed, that we'll have a crisis. What crisis are we having? In fact, if I was advising my president and friend, I would tell him very quickly, there are certain things that we've talked about and we keep on talking about. Deal with the issue of corruption. His own administration has admitted that we lose 3 billion per day. I mean, extrapolate is about 1.2 trillion, 1.3 trillion per year. Even if you just got half of that, we don't even need, we have already fixed the budget. My sister Mumbi has talked about the offices that are unconstitutional. Even leave alone my brothers, spare him. But let's go for the spouses. They are not anywhere. They don't do any work. They're just roaming this country and roaming the world. They have of no value. Get rid of them. Your operational expenses in OP and DP, I think they're spending over I don't know how many billions of shillings. Cut that by 30%. I'm hoping that he doesn't still dream of having this people called CAS. People just be coming to read newspapers. So let me say this to my president. Free advice. There's a letter that has been written by one of my pastors, Reverend Nick Korir. Let him read that letter. Thank God it's coming from Korir. Korir must be coming from where my brother comes from.
Yeah.
So if he cannot contextualize the way it has been written in that form, I'm sure Korir can do some interpretation, make it a bit easier, you know. But finally, I suspect there is something that this administration will attempt to do. And that will be their final nail on their coffin. Young people who have attained the age of 18 are having challenges to get their identity cards. It's a birthright. It's not a favor that they're being done. My own son, when he turned 18, I was listening into the PS of migrations, who is in charge of issues of IDs. And he was talking about 21 days. My son turned 18 in November last year. With my intervention, it took 3 months. And there are so many millions of youth who cannot get ID cards. Let them not suppress the voter through denial of issues of ID cards. That would be a disaster. And I can tell you, if this is fire, if this is what they have seen is fire, I don't know what they're going to see in future. So, Mr. President, careful.
Okay. Dr. Ngaru, final words?
Fred, I associate myself with the changes that are taking place. And I thank God that I'm alive to see the changes that we have been yearning for. I beg our youth, our children, that they let not anything bring down their resolve to have a better Kenya. The day they will agree to be structured, to hand over their leaders to a round table discussion, that's the day they will lose it. Mm-hmm. And I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart. Let them stick together. Let them remain as clear as they are about the future of this country. They are the majority. And thank God they know what is good for themselves and for their parents and for their grandparents. I thank them that they have not been they have not been identified by the powers that be as a group that can be compromised. And my last is for my generation. I really do apologize to them. That fear was created in us. We know the things that they have been talking about. And one of them dared to challenge the status quo. We know the price that they have paid. That fear has been instilled in us, and we've lost it. But I thank God that they are able to encourage us, those that are still believing in a thing that has made them get to where they are. They are really do appreciating the struggle and where that we have been able to bring it this far. And I wish them all the best. And they have my prayers. Mm-hmm. And I'm not speaking from a church point of view. I'm speaking as an ordinary Christian. I know we have failed them. Okay. I know the Christians have failed this country. Okay. But I am happy that they are able to disassociate themselves with the class of the religion that we have had. And they are probably ready to correct the mistakes that they have seen us struggle with. I wish them luck. And I am in my prayers for them. Thank you very much.
Wanakirwa, we have time for a parting shot.
Thank you, Fred. I just want the administration of the day to improve in their communication, internal communication, and also communication with the public. At the same time, make sure that they reduce to a minimum excessive use of force, because Nairobi is leading in that, because the other towns had demonstrations, but you could see they were peaceful. But Nairobi, and the kind of excessive force that is unmitigated by people who are peaceful.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kipruto Rapkirwa, former Agriculture Cabinet Minister, Dr. Mumbi Ngaru, former MP, East Africa Legislative Assembly, and Philip Kisia, former Town Clerk, Nairobi City, our panelists this morning and every Monday as we take a look at the big headlines. The biggest discussion, of course, the anti-government protests as Kenyans protest the finance bill of 2024. This is a conversation that we will definitely continue today and throughout this week, and we'll be here to bring you all the latest. Thank you so much for your time at TV47. A lot more